Daniel had a vision. I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but the book of Daniel's broken up into, it gives stories in the first 6 chapters, and starting beginning in the 7th chapter, Daniel tells about his vision. And Daniel, while he was in the captivity, he was one of the ones that had been taken to Babylon when Nebuchadnezzar took over Israel and Judah, or took over Judah. And Daniel, Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego were chosen out of the children of Israel because they were wisdom. They had wisdom and knowledge and things of God. Daniel was promoted. He was right under the king. And through the first 6 chapters, it tells about Nebuchadnezzar, then his son, Belshazzar, or something like that. Then Darius the Mede took over, and then Cyrus. And we've heard about Cyrus from Isaiah. He was the one that the Lord named him a couple of hundred years before he was born. And it was under him that they sent to, I believe they sent to Ezra and that. Anyway, Daniel lived through 4 governments in Babylon. Well, in the 7th chapter of Daniel, Daniel has a revelation or a vision. in verse 1, let's see. Brother Roger, you want to open us up first?
Lord, we just thank you, Lord, for your many blessings, Lord. We thank you, Lord, for everything that you do for us, Lord. I pray that you bless this word this morning. I know it's already blessed, but I pray that you give us understanding, God, that we might be able to understand what's coming forward. I ask you to bless each and every one that's in this church, Lord. I ask you all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Daniel was given a vision. Let's see, verse 1. No, it was Daniel 13. No, Daniel 7. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matter. So Daniel had a dream in his day. But John was given a revelation by Jesus, and he wrote the book of Revelation. And we're just going to center in on one thing. Both of them were given what the last kingdom on earth would look like. The last kingdom on earth when Jesus comes back. Both Daniel and John were given that vision. And we know that Daniel's vision was of the last kingdom because it said this is for the latter days. But it's so similar to what John said, it couldn't have been before Jesus came. It was for the latter days, our time. And I think there's a lot of similarities in what's going on now in the earth and what both Daniel and John say that kingdom's going to look like. Now, I'm just going to kind of go back and forth here. You will try to keep up with me, but I'm just going to read a little bit of it. John said in Revelation 13, and I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was likened to a leopard. Now listen to this part. The beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were the feet of a bear, and his mouth was the mouth of a lion. Now this is a vision, and it's an example. You know, it's not a leopard coming out of the ocean. It's what this kingdom, the similarities, the examples of what this kingdom is going to look like. And the dragon gave him his power. Who's the dragon? Satan. In chapter 12 of Revelation, there's a story about the dragon going after the people that believe in Jesus and the Jews. And that chapter 12 is just an overview of the whole, gives you the whole picture. And then in 13, he starts giving some dictates. The dragon gave him his power and his seat and his great authority. Now what's similar, and I'm not going to read all these verses in Daniel, but in Daniel chapter 7, the first was like a lion. The second like a bear. In verse 6, another like a leopard. He's talking about the kingdoms in succession. And if you look, you can see them. The last one, the leopard, which had the back, on his back 4 wings of a fowl. The beast also had 4 heads. Well, that was Alexander the Great. His kingdom was split up into 4 kingdoms. And that was the last kingdom that took over the world, the known world, until this last one. And I believe it's been here for a while. It's been operating in the earth for quite a while. It will come to the point where it's literally ruling the whole world. When the 4th kingdom is on earth, and you see that the one in Revelation and the one in Daniel are the same. So you can take descriptions out of either one of them, put them both together. If you try to do that, it's pretty confusing. I'm not going to try to do that here today. But what we can see, just by what I've read right here, they're talking about the same time. They're talking about the same rule in the earth. When the 4th kingdom is on the earth, no more. Just by the scriptures we've read. Daniel says the 4th beast shall be the 4th kingdom upon the earth. We shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down, and break it in pieces. That sounds pretty bad. Revelations says, and it was given unto him to make war with the saints, to overcome them. Power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. Okay. Best way I can figure to do this, I'm going to ask a few questions. Just by those 2 verses I wrote, read 2 or 3. This kingdom, the last kingdom, to be on the earth, will it take over the whole earth? Will it be worldwide? Just going by these 2 verses. Yeah. That's pretty clear. And Daniel says it shall devour the whole earth. And Revelation said over all kindreds, tongues, and nations. So that's the whole earth. How is it different from the others? There were three before it. This is the fourth one. There were three before it. How's it different from the other three? Because Daniel said it will be diverse from all kingdoms. It'll be different from any other kingdom. How did the other kingdoms, how did Alexander the Great conquer? How did he take over countries? War. Soldiers, arrows, spears, by force. What about Nebuchadnezzar? He took it by force. This one's going to be different. Let's talk about that. Are you following me? Is that making sense? This one's not going to take over like that. We've had wars. We've had rumors of wars. How long has America been fighting wars? As long as I've been alive. And before. Go ahead.
I think it's gonna be about cunning way. It's not gonna be by like, they had wars, it's fighting, it's taken up, but it's gonna be in a slight, and more of a cunning way where people won't really see it unless God helps them to see it. It's gonna be, it's not gonna be by battle. It's gonna be it's gonna be a spiritual deal, but it's also, it's gonna be a cunning way that you won't notice if God don't help us.
Well, you touched on something. Let me mention this. It'll be a spiritual.
Yes.
What did Daniel see? Or was it? No, it was John, wasn't it? Yes, John. He stood upon the sand and he was looking out over the sea. And he saw a beast rise up out of the sea. Well, Daniel, when he was talking, he saw one of them came up. It was the first one. The lion had eagle's wings. He beheld up till the wings thereof were plucked. And it was lifted up from the earth and made stand upright on his feet like a man. And a man's heart was given. Could he have been seeing the spiritual first? And then that spiritual description was given to a man.
I think one of the things that is going to happen on the fourth one is it says that he will confuse or stop all of the, I guess it'd be called the Christians from speaking out or anything. Well, that's just now started here in our own country. They're stopping the Christians from gathering and from speaking out together or being as a unified body. You silence the Christians all around the globe, you'll actually accomplish everything you want to do after that. Because that's the only thing that's keeping them from doing it.
A lot of manipulation going on with witchcraft.
Manipulation of witchcraft.
I mean, I feel like they're controlling us, training us, conditioning us.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
That they do.
How long has that been going on?
Long time.
Long time.
Yes, sir.
How long?
Since Christ.
Well, you could say that. But I mean, right here. I mean, we're the land of the free and home of the brave.
Well, here in our country, it started with Wilson as president. He started wanting to have a socialist country.
League of Nations.
League of Nations.
That's what I go back to. That was World War I.
Yeah.
He didn't get it done, but after World War II, United Nations.
Yeah.
And that's just one example. I saw a clip. We got plenty of time. You know, if you got something to say, I don't have, this is all we're going to look at. What it's going to look at.
In 1991, I got to go to Europe, and we were in that house for Anne Frank, the warehouse where she was hidden. And up on the second floor, this is 1991, they had a little video you could watch. And I was shocked. It's conditioning in America. I was shocked in 1991 because in a little video, they called the Nazis murderers. They called them words that I was shocked. I go, we can't. Why am I shocked at that? That's the truth. We don't say that in America anymore. You would never say that about them because you get a suit against you or something. And that was in 91.
Somebody get it to you.
Yeah.
So we were already being conditioned then as to what you could say and what was, you know.
I saw a clip. You've got to where if you want to see any news, it's really news, you got to hunt for it. And this guy, he puts together just clips, you know, of live people at these events. If I want to know what's going on at these hearings, I watch the hearings. I don't listen to the news after.
That's right.
Exactly.
But he puts together these clips, and he don't make a few comments, you know, he's not really giving his, well, he does give his opinion, but, you know. And he said something about we're not living in the days of Walter Cronkite. Well, when I was a kid, at 6 o'clock, that TV was tuned to Walter Cronkite.
That's right.
That's right.
Because that's the way it is. Remember what he said?
Yeah.
Well, after he retired, this guy showed a clip. Somebody sent him a clip of what Walter Cronkite actually was. He was accepting an award for an organization that were funded and put in place by George Soros. Now, this was
Right.
back way back, you know.
Yeah.
Walter Cronkite's been dead a long time. Giving him an award for his work. And when he got up and spoke, I'm talking about Walter Cronkite, he got up and spoke. He made fun of Pat Robertson because Pat Robertson said there wouldn't be a good world government until Christ comes back to take something.
Right.
Well, it's not. That's what we believe. You know, I'm not saying I'm a big fan of Pat Robertson, but he's right on with some of his stuff, you know. It's not going to be peace till Jesus comes. And that's what he believes, you know. Well, Walter Cronkite was making fun of it. And Walter Cronkite also quoted Pat Robertson when he said, and I'm trying to quote him. He said, those that actively fight against Christ are at Satan's right hand. Well, Walter Cronkite turned right around and said, I'm proud that I'm at Satan's right hand.
Yeah.
This is the Walter Cronkite I grew up with. I didn't know what he was actually like all up here. But I'm sitting here watching him and hearing him say this. And that's how long it's been. It's been here all my life. And I can't remember him ever. You know, you watch his newscast nowadays, and it's obvious whose side they're on. They're either on the right or the left. Some of them on the left, some of them on the right. It's obvious. But Walter Cronkite, I thought he was just giving us the news.
No, he was the one that even said in 1968 that the war was lost with Vietnam. And we could have won that war in Vietnam in 1968 real easy.
Yeah.
But then the politicians got involved because they decided we're going to make it a money game. And then it was all planned. And then, of course, then they got people excited to protest it. They did it just like they have Antifa and BL, whatever, Black Lives Matter. They did the same thing back then.
Yeah.
Very same thing.
Yeah. And first they'll pit the races against each other. That's how long this has been going on. And then somebody comes along and they say, we can make all this go away. How many riots have been in America since they declared Joe Biden the presidential elect?
Gone, they're gone.
All that went away. If Trump goes through the courts and wins it back, it's right there.
Sorry, man, it'll be everywhere.
I'm trying not to be on one side or the other, but you can't have it. Because the line is so clear. What is the kingdom going to look? This is going to happen. Because Daniel saw it, John saw it, it's going to happen. It's like it's written. But let me give you this right here. The ones that believe in Christ and keep the commandments of God won't take, it's phrased all kind of ways through here, won't take the mark of the beast, won't compromise, will be saved. And there will be great reward in heaven. We're going through a time on the earth. I believe this kingdom is just right on the verge of happening. It could happen overnight. We're living in a time that Daniel saw and he didn't really understand. And God couldn't explain it to him, or wouldn't. John saw it, and he didn't really understand it. What Jesus tell John, write this down. And he did. He minded the Lord. It's going to happen. And the ones that are living in this time, it's just a narrow window as far as eternity is concerned that we're living in. When we make it through here and hadn't compromised, when we show up, there's going to be great rewards. Great rewards. But, and I've heard Brother Doug say this is not. It might be one reason, I didn't sleep good last night. One reason I ate all that pumpkin pie. But I've been reading this too. And you get to thinking about the bad side of this, it's not pretty. It says the ones that do take that mark, they're going to be put out. And it don't differentiate between the sinners and the saved.
That's right.
So, the whole earth will be devoured by the beast, be over all the kindreds and the nations. It'll be different from the others because it won't happen with war. What is Biden already promising to do?
Get to wear a mask for 100 days. I know that one.
Conditions some more.
Take the oil fields out.
Yeah.
No more
Yeah.
crack.
Millions of jobs lost.
Yeah. Lots of people come home.
It's strange. He has all these millennials or whatever convinced that do away with the oil and everything else, oil and gas, that everything will be hunky-dory. They won't get to ride their bicycles because those have rubber tires. And it takes what to make rubber tires? Petroleum. And then also they can't even be on their little skateboards either because that's on those wheels too, made out of the same carbons. So, they're just they're cutting their nose off to spite their face. And they've got them believing it.
But Brother Dan, they ain't gonna do nothing till the church stand up for the right. As long as the church is gonna talk, ain't nobody gonna listen.
But
Well, there's a place in here where
it says they're going to be silenced.
it says the children of God stand up. But there's also a place in here where it says the beast will overcome them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we still got the mighty hand of Jesus Christ.
Amen.
I believe that. I'm with you. And I don't think it's over here in our country.
God is the same today as he was back when he dropped manna from heaven to feed his people. He can do it again if necessary.
Well, he will.
I am not the least bit worried. I will not go hungry because my God is greater than all this garbage going on. And as long as I stand for him and do right, he's going to take care of me.
And that's what we're going to have to hang on to.
That's right.
That's why everybody, all the Christians are going to have to hang on to.
No matter what it looks like, no matter what is going on, our God is able.
Now, we're going to give you this vaccine,
But not me.
and in this vaccine, it's in the vaccine, where when you go to Walmart, instead of shooting you with a temperature gun, you put your hand up there, and they're going to have this doodad, and your hand's going to light up a certain color if you got that in your bloodstream. And if you don't have that, you don't get into Walmart.
Maybe that's tomorrow.
Now, I'm not saying that's the mark,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah, sounds like.
It could
But-
be,
Lead
it
to
could,
it.
that could be the prelude to it.
Well, it says, there's one line in these scriptures that say, if you don't have that mark, you won't buy or sell.
You know, people even Jew us back when they had social security numbers, you know. They all thought that's, you got that number, well, you can have a number, that's gonna be the mark of the beast. That was all told back then too.
Well,
That could have been part of their philosophy.
No, they're talking
Everybody used to it for stuff.
about getting rid of all the change, the pennies and the quarters and stuff. Eventually what they're gonna do is go all plastic, and then the government can do anything he wants to with your money.
well, if you've got that stuff embedded, you know, all you got to do is scan it.
Yeah.
You know,
Takes it out of your digital bank account somehow.
the nursing homes are, it's gonna happen before Christmas. Probably the nursing homes are gonna have the vaccine offered here in the next couple of weeks. And Amber's been at her facility for over 20 years. And right now, it's not mandatory, but even though the government's not making it mandatory, your employer can,
Yeah.
if you want to keep your job. And she doesn't want the vaccine, and that's her livelihood. And she's like, Mama, what am I gonna do? And I'm like, you're gonna have to make that choice. What would I do? I absolutely know what I would do. But what I'm saying is, it doesn't come without repercussions.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, she's either gonna take it when and right now, they're not demanding it to keep your job, but if they do, if and when they do, there's a line drawn.
I use that for an example of where it can go, and I like to think about it like this. When they first started this homosexual business, they can say what they want to, I remember what they said. These two people, if they're living together, one of them's got a job that's got insurance, the other one don't, but that one can't get on that one's insurance plan legally. They can't sign a contract on a house and all this kind of business. And I'm thinking, well, you know, what's that to me? I don't care. If they, you know, the way they present it to you. But when they wrote the bill, legalized, they put marriage in the bill. And I said, uh-oh, that's coming from the church. And I said that years ago, and everybody, you don't know what you're talking about. I said, okay, but let's mark it on the wall somewhere. I like to play 42. You play one, we play around, play another one, and I got a pretty good idea what you got in your hand. Did it come all right?
Right.
It's not every time, but sometimes I know whether I'm going to win that or not after the second or third play. Same thing with this. You play one, we play another round. I sure don't know what you come with. But the ones that don't have this in them, why do we keep going over this? Why have I been on it so long? We got to get this in us. And listen, this thing I use for the vaccine, that's just an example. You make up your own mind.
That's right.
I'm not going to start telling folks what to do unless God speaks to me. If he does and tells me, I'll tell you. But you see where it's headed. This stuff that they're coming up with, they want to register. Everybody register, you go. The only reason to register a gun with the government is so the government can come and take that gun one day. They know you got it.
They ain't gonna know one
Meaning, I've said this before, I've got guns in my house that's over 100 years old, and to my knowledge, as far as I know, they've never even shot anybody else, much less killed anybody. And I'm not going to give them up. Now, they may come and take them, but I won't volunteer to it. Okay?
Guns don't kill people, people kill people.
That's right.
And that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. But the people that don't have this in them, the Word of God, and they got all this garbage that the devil's talking, they're going to just hoot and holler and say, that's the greatest thing we ever heard. They're not going to know the difference between what's right and what's wrong. How did this kingdom get in the earth to begin with? Brother Roger said it, cunning, manipulation, without firing a shot.
Yep.
Everybody that didn't vote for it, they manufactured enough votes to get it in.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm making fun of the election. I mean, it's obvious what happened. So, when this does get in the earth, we know what it looks like. We know what they're after. They're not after peace. They're after world domination. And they'll come after the Christians and the Jews. Both. That's what it's geared up for. Will there be saints on the earth? Will there be saints that have to go through something? And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High. You can't wear the saints out if the saints are not here. Speak great words. They're doing that now. Been doing it. What Walter Cronkite say 20, 25 years ago? Been doing it. And they'll think to change times and law. And it shall be given into his hand until a time and times and dividing of time. What do you think that means? He'll change times and law.
I thought about sometime about where they've got this daylight savings time, all that mess going on. But I did talk online about that. I could be wrong, but, they changed the time, laws and stuff.
Well, it's been, this spirit of Antichrist and this thing, it's been working its way up for a long time. Remember what we studied, and this is just one example that I can think of. Remember what when we studied in those feasts, and we was going over the last week of Passover when Jesus was crucified. Now we've got Good Friday and Sunday as Resurrection Day. Well, I don't care how you count it. There's not 3 days and nights between Friday and Sunday. So that's creating confusion in the church, because did Jesus stay in the tomb 3 days or not? And unless you get in this book and study and find out what it says, and we took a long time going over this. You remember that? You know, a lot of people still believe, well, Jesus was nailed on the cross on Friday and he rose on Sunday. Okay.
Well, you know, they don't understand. I didn't know, you know, about a new day starts at sundown, you know. I mean, he was crucified on Wednesday, but at sundown started Thursday, see?
Mm-hmm.
So he was on that Thursday night.
Yeah.
Count Thursday night, and we go right on down.
But when, and we went back and we found out what happened. Where'd that come about? When Constantine was ruler over a lot of that area, over the Jews too. Well, it was creating a lot of turmoil. They wanted off. They wouldn't work on the Passover when he was crucified. Well, it wasn't a problem on Sunday. But they was taking off half the week. So Constantine changed the time and said it's going to be Friday till Sunday. Well, he was crucified. It wasn't a certain day. It was on the 14th. The 14th fell on Wednesday. 14th Passover. But he rose from the dead the day after the weekly Sabbath. So you got 2 things. You got a date and a day of the week going. So it had to fall on Wednesday for there to be 3 days and 3 nights. But Constantine shrunk it. So really they could just take off Friday and Saturday. He changed the times. That was way back in Constantine's day. Change the times and the laws. We've seen a lot of laws being changed or circumventing or whatever you want to call it. Some of the laws, when Obama was in there, he just wouldn't enforce them. If it hadn't been for our governor, it ain't no telling how many would have swum that river. It's guarding Rio Grande with big patrol boats when Rick Perry was in there. But can you see what that last kingdom is going to look like? It's on the earth. That's what we've been talking about. I believe it's almost here. Almost here. You'll have to take this country we're in for it to be complete. We'll have to follow too. The Bible says it's going to happen. But like Sister Barbara said, keep in mind, those that stay faithful to the end, he protects us. But no matter what we got to go through, we're going to leave out of here anyway. Let's leave out of here with a good testimony, with rewards ahead of us. Right?